Hey everyone, we are the Ducharme family. I'm Meg. This is Corbin. That's Cam. And that's Kyle. And we're here to tell you all about our experience with our fraternal twins and how we made it.
So today what we wanted to talk about is the 5 things that were necessary to survive the first week with these boys.
Our first week was in the hospital, so this is the first week home.
The way we want to do it today is we actually wrote down a list of 5 different things and we haven't shared them with each other yet. This way we hope that we could share some insight into our journey with you all, but also for us to learn a little bit about one another's journey throughout this. Alright, so number 5, I think this is the actually only thing, actual thing on my list, but it is the boba wrap. So if you're not familiar with the boba wrap, it's essentially this large, long piece of fabric that you wrap around yourself and turn into a way to carry a baby. Corbin, during that time, he lost almost 10% of his body weight, and the only way that we could get him to calm down was for me to wear him, and it was an absolute lifesaver.
Yeah, he was very colicky, and there was nothing we could do. We tried everything in the books, and skin to skin, wearing them very tight was the only thing that worked. My number 5 was control your visitors.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because having visitors over is amazing. It reminds you that there is still a world going on outside, but it's also really exhausting. So make sure that you tell them when to come over and make sure you tell them when you want them to leave. Just be honest with them. Yeah,
so,
you agreed too, huh?
From a dad's perspective, visitors gave me a break. That was the time typically that I went to the gym, or I took a nap, or I watched a movie. And so from Meg's side, totally exhausting, and we needed to make sure that it wasn't overwhelming for her and the boys, but for me, that gave me that time to kind of take a step back and spend some time with myself.
My number 4 is like a 7-parter. Boiled down, it's a Netflix account. But the broad range, or the broad idea of this, is to have something that reminds you of who you were before you gave birth. You need to remember that this is just a stage. It will pass, it will be different, you'll figure it out.
My number 4 is get the heck out of the house, no matter what it takes. And that process of loading them up into their car seats and putting them in the car and getting out of the house is really scary at first. And so I would say just practice that process as much as possible and just go for it. The worst thing that could happen is they lose their ish in the car. You can just turn around and come right home.
Get it out of the way now, you're gonna be much better at it later. It's just practice.
Definitely.
Right, number 3.
So for number 3, this sounds obvious and I feel like it's on every possible list, but you really need to prioritize your health. For me, that was going back to the gym. I think I went back the second day that we were home.
Yeah.
And I was eating healthy and not eating fast food. And by doing that, I was able to give more to my wife and the kids. And although Meg couldn't do the same thing, and I definitely felt guilty at times, and that's a whole other topic that I'd love to talk about, is how do you not feel bad about prioritizing time for yourself, but in the long run, it paid off to be able to give back more to them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people questioned why I allowed him to go to the gym, and it's not I felt like that was a weird way for people to ask me that question, but the more energy he had, the more he could help me, and so you just had to figure out what that balance is. Number 3 for me was to ask for help. I feel like a lot of people probably would have thought this was number 1, but for us it really came down to the safety of the babies, because we were so exhausted and we do not like to ask for help. So we're just the classic, maybe millennials, I don't know. And but I would call down my parents and say, hey, can you watch them for 3 hours or whatever the next feeding was when I was needed to be there, because we have both got to lay down.
I think for me it was really difficult because we were living with her parents, and maybe it would have been different if we lived with my parents, but I just always felt guilty asking for help, and it was almost like I wish that we were paying someone for help, because we were doing them a favor as well by helping give them income, and that's a hurdle that took me a very long time, and I don't even know if I ever got over that hurdle living with your parents.
And I think too, maybe even telling people beforehand that it's going to be hard for you to ask for help, and ask them to just come and offer it. It's way easier if someone's offering it, because you're not taking up time that they were planning on doing something else, or you're not stopping them from doing something they want to do because you need help. Maybe set those expectations beforehand, and that makes it so much easier when someone offers it to you as opposed to having to ask for it. Number 2, we figured this out very quickly after the first night. We both tried to stay up with the babies, and then we realized, wait a minute, this is dumb. So we set up a schedule and we flip-flopped who was awake with the babies. We did both get up to feed them because there's 2 of them, and at that time it was just way easier to have 2 people. But yeah, we both tried to do everything. Might be part of our don't ask for help. It was a little bit lonely when it was only you in the middle of the night, but British Baking Show, The Office helped us through.
I think this is the only thing that we have overlapped so far.
I knew it. I knew we'd overlap.
So mine is said a little bit differently, but this is something that I still struggle with to this day, is let go of the guilt of not doing everything together. Because there's so many times where, like, I think at the beginning it's just so much excitement, and like I may be changing someone's diaper, and like, or Meg may, and I just want to be around to be present and to help her out if there's something that's there. But that is just not a sustainable way about things. I think the key to a successful partnership in parenting is that you need to learn how to delegate and let go of things when it's not your responsibility. Because again, like Meg said, once we got over this fact, like we don't both have to get up every single night to feed the babies, and we created this feeding schedule, I felt so much like I had so much more energy, and I had more to give to you as well. Like we weren't just up and just really difficult to be around. Like we figured it out and we got over that hump.
Yeah, and I think Kyle touched on exactly why we wanted to do it. It's because we were excited. Like, you get paternity leave, we hope you get paternity leave, or at least a little bit of it, and you get to hang out, you get to be around each other, and you have these brand new little babies that you've been waiting for such a long time, and you're just like, they're here, and you want to spend every minute together, experiencing it together, but eventually it just becomes unsustainable.
At the end of the day, like, a lot of parenting comes down to just efficiency. And it's more efficient to do things separately, although you definitely have to find those times to do things together as a family.
All right, what's your number one?
All right, so the last thing is something I still struggle with every single day, and it is the fact that it is okay not to love everything. So what you read online everywhere is the fact that you need to cherish every moment of the stage because you'll never get it back again. But there have been a lot of days, hours, minutes that have just sucked. And all I'm doing is trying to get through it. And that's a really difficult pill to swallow because I know that we're not going to get this back again. But at the same time, it's okay for me to give myself permission not to love everything. And that has been relevant since day one up until today.
My number one thing is laugh and try to enjoy the ride because, and I always heard this phrase, come on man, we're almost done. I always heard this phrase, choose joy, and wow. I didn't really understand what it meant until I had these guys, because every single day you wake up and you start with a half tank of gas, if that, and you have to choose to be excited, you have to choose that you are going to enjoy this, and you know, your nipples might be bleeding, your partner might also be tired and in a bad mood, and you have to choose to laugh and to be happy. All of this will pass you by, and it'll just be one big blur of like, that was the worst ever, unless you choose to pick out those little moments and to focus on them. And so you don't have to enjoy every single one, like Kyle said, because that is literally impossible, but to try to hang on to the ones and try to find moments that you like is going to be so helpful.
Yeah, one of my best friends, when we first had the boys, his suggestion was to laugh until you cry or cry until you laugh. And I think that's been one of the best takeaways. Because in the end, making the best of the moment, even though like right now, like it is so difficult to continue this energy and to keep up with them all day, 24/7. So all you can do is just laugh and find some joy within these moments.
Yeah, and you will find it. It's not hard to find if you go into it with the mindset that it's there. So we are so excited. This is just top 5 between us. There are a ton of top 5 things for like the mom and the dad specifically, because when you come home, you're going to have a lot of postpartum needs. You're going to have a lot of things that you're going to want to do for yourself. But this is just for general how we survived. And we both, like I said, had a million things. We just kind of narrowed it down to the top 5.
Awesome. So thanks for listening. Definitely subscribe to our channel and follow along on our journey of raising these 2 nuggets.
There's a lot more where that came from.
Yeah. See you guys. Thank you.
Go Ravens!